Make sure you don't miss a thing. Go to starzology.com/newsletter and sign up. Welcome to the Starzology Astrology Podcast. I'm your host, Alison Price, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Arwynne O'Neill.
Hello, Alison. It's great to be here again.
So nice to have you once more. So in this episode, we're going to be doing an introduction to electional astrology.
I love that.
Yeah. So straight off the bat, it sounds like it's got something to do with politics and voting people in, voting people out.
I have a spoiler alert. It's not.
Yeah, it absolutely is not.
Nothing to do with it.
No.
Yeah.
So basically, electional astrology is the technique of choosing a time in the future, a time still to come, when you're going to start something, and there are multiple things that you could do: buy a house or buy a car or get a job or whatever it is, and you'll get married. That's a big one. And you can cast an electional chart for the best days coming up.
Yeah.
So this is quite an interesting part of astrology, and several of my clients have come to me when they wanted actually cosmetic surgery, which was the big thing.
I was just going to say,
I know.
One time I've actually used it was when I wanted to have an elective surgery done. Yeah.
Yes, and the idea is that you pick a day because your doctor, well, we'll get to it, but the doctor could say, well, I can do it on Monday or next week Friday.
And you look those days up and you're like, oh, well.
Yeah.
There's a clear winner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So electional astrology is an ancient technique, and it's basically hinges around, you have to understand what the election is for, how you would then cast the chart and what one needs to pay attention to.
Yeah.
So there are some basic kind of rules with casting electional charts, and each of the houses is actually the area of life where you would do the election, basically where you would want to reinforce the house for the particular election. And there are some main kind of classic rules of electional astrology, and I've just got a couple. I just want to go through them here before we get going, just so we've got a bit of an idea what we're doing. So if you're an aspiring astrologer, you're trying to do an electional chart, this is where you're going to pay attention. And if you're a potential client thinking you're going to get married next year, you want a potential date, then you're more of a client. So yeah. And there's a link below the podcast that's actually going to take you through to the blog post of the electional chart with all the details on, more details than what we could talk about here. And then there's also the option there to either book yourself a class about how to do electional charts, or have to get your own electional chart done.
I love it.
Okay, so we're just going to go over, there's a couple of classic guidelines. And the first one it's to do with the moon. You must keep the moon strong. So it needs to be unafflicted. Now that means it shouldn't have any hard aspects.
Yes.
Such as?
Like Saturn squaring it, Pluto opposing it.
Yes.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Any of those that would mean it would be afflicted. We don't want that. We always want the moon strong.
Yeah.
And ideally it should be applying to a benefic.
Yeah.
Which is Venus or Jupiter. So applying an aspect, say moon trine Jupiter, moon sextile Venus. Yeah. These are ideal placements for the moon.
So here's a question. What about Mars? Because sometimes people consider Mars to be a malefic, but a lot of people do, electional astrology when it comes to surgeries, and surgery is ruled by Mars.
Yeah.
So what are the rules?
Well, it does depend that you need to know which planet is going to rule the activity that you're doing the election for. Right. So if it is surgery, which is then be Mars and Pluto, then Mars is the planet that is the actual planet that rules the election anyway. That's the strong planet for it.
Yeah.
And each planet rules different things in life, and they are the planets. So yes.
So if you're getting married, you want Venus.
You absolutely do, and you do not want Mars.
Right. And
if you're going to have surgery where there's slicing and dicing, not an X-ray, but when they're cutting into you, you want Mars, or such as a nose job or an eye bag lift or whatever they do these days.
Anything where they're cutting into you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mars has to be well.
That's right. Particularly with cosmetic surgery, then you would definitely want Mars to be in a favorable position.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So that's some of the classic rules. You also want to favor Jupiter and Venus because these are the good planets.
Yes.
They're the ones that can support you, and with whatever the venture is in general, they're generally the good ones. And in general, you want to avoid having Mars or Saturn prominent within the chart. So you don't really want them in the first house. You want them in one of the cadent houses so they're quietly out of the way. and not aspecting the planet that rules the actual election.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So the idea is that each house for an election chart, say you want to get married on any Saturday next October, you would, as the astrologer, you would look at all the charts for all the Saturdays and decide which one is more favorable,
Right.
with having a well-placed moon, applying to the benefics, and you've got Mars and Saturn tucked out of the way.
How do retrograde planets fit into that? Like, so if Venus is retrograde, for example, when you're trying to plan a wedding, is that bad?
Do not. Okay, so straight up there.
Okay, cool. I love it when there's like a direct answer.
Absolutely.
No,
You don't want a wedding chart with Venus retrograde.
Okay.
And you don't want to, we'll get to it, and you don't want a wedding chart where Venus is going to go retrograde in the next 7 days.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Because that will then turn retrograde by progression from the time of the marriage.
In the first 7 years, that whole 7-year itch thing.
And it will then remain retrograde for 48 years. So really.
Jesus. Yeah. You got to think in quantum, like,
Well, this is it. So there is an art. And ideally, you can't have everything, but you definitely want to get the main players in the right position.
Yeah, for sure.
So the idea is that each of the houses would tend to favor elections related to those houses. We're just going to go through them,
Cool.
just in general, to see, well, which houses would be favoring different elections. So, for instance, for a first house election, this is really to do with beginnings, identity, and your vitality. So here, you want to elect for personal endeavors and self-improvement projects, because it's all about the self, beginning a new lifestyle, routine, or health regime, activities focused on your reputation and self-preservation, and launching something strongly tied to your own personal identity, i.e. your own brand.
Love it.
So if you're going out and you're going to launch something as ArwynneO'Neill.com,
right?
You definitely want to, when it's personally you are attached to it, that's a first house election.
Okay.
So anything to do with your personal endeavors, self-improvement, physical body, and so on.
Right. Not to be confused with if you're starting a new job, that would probably be different, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So it's to do with yourself personally. And with the first house elections, you want to choose the ascendant and its ruler. They must be strong. That means angular, dignified, or direct. You want to avoid the malefics, and here I'm talking about Saturn and Mars in general, in the first house, unless they are appropriate to the task, right?
Got it.
The moon should not be in the first house if it's afflicted, as it will bring instability to the entire project. Well, we don't want the moon afflicted, but sometimes you can't. So it's good to have the ascendant ruler. That's the planet that rules the ascendant, applying to Venus and Jupiter. All right. The chart rulers have, you really want them to be dignified, direct, and free of malefic aspects if you can. And the moon should be dignified and waxing. Always waxing is always a good thing. And get a benefic rule rising sign such as Taurus, Libra, Sagittarius, or Pisces. So these are the signs ruled by Venus and Jupiter. And if you've got them on your ascendant, this is going to benefit a first house election.
Okay.
And you want to avoid Mars or Saturn in the first house. Absolutely.
Okay. That's a lot of information, but my takeaway is waxing is always a good thing.
When the moon is waxing, it's growing in potential.
Yes.
Potential yet to come.
Yes, for sure.
So if the idea is with the moon, say, for instance, you say, I'm going to get married and I want the marriage to last and have good potential in the future.
Yeah.
But if you are getting divorced, then you would want your moon waning because you are trying to let go of the actual thing.
Gosh. People planning the actual date of their divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope that was clear about first house elections.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah, that 100% makes sense.
So then if we look at second house elections, what would you do for a second house election? So this is generally to do with money, possessions, and your own resources.
Right. Well, I would want Jupiter there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, ideally. Yeah.
So for second house elections, you would be electing the chart for financial matters, savings, earnings, and investments.
Mm-hmm.
Starting a new income pathway, purchasing valuable items or assets, but not real estate. So it's a car, it's a handbag, it's whatever you think is valuable,
Sure.
your art collection.
So when you're just scrolling and you're shopping late at night, lying in bed, just take a look where Jupiter is.
Exactly. But if you're collecting art or I don't know, Chinese teapots and it's an investment, that's a second house election.
Yeah, that's something you want to put a little more thought into than like the late night binge purchase.
Yeah. And then budgeting, contract signing, or material goods in general, you want them second house. That will be a second house election. So when we do second house elections, we want to have the second ruler, that is the planet that rules the sign on the cusp of the second house, must be strong and preferably applying to a benefic. So applying and making an applying aspect to Venus or Jupiter. The second house ruler should be in dignity or in mutual reception with a good planet. Mm-hmm. And a waxing moon phase, always a good thing. This angular applying to the second ruler is excellent. Venus or Jupiter in or forming aspects to the second house, which is what you said, Jupiter in the second, Venus in the second. These are the good guys.
Yeah.
And then Taurus or Capricorn on the second cusp to influence for stability.
For sure. Yeah.
And for investments, fortify the 8th house as well, because that's other people's money. Yeah. So there is a tricky bit to that, and you have to understand fully what the election is for.
Yeah.
And in these second house elections, you want to avoid Mars or Saturn afflicting, which is greater opposition aspects to the second house ruler.
Yeah.
You want to avoid Mars or Saturn in the second house because it will obstruct the flow of money.
How about Neptune?
Well, I don't.
No, you're not a fan of Neptune.
That's a moot point, yeah. And then the moon or Capricorn the moon in Capricorn because it's detriment unless it's well supported.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So when we say the difficult planets, we're talking about the malefics. They are Mars and Saturn for sure.
Yeah.
But, Uranus can be difficult. Neptune can be elusive, and Pluto can be a bit of a pain 100%. As well.
Yeah.
So but in general, you want to lean towards what is the good bit.
Yeah.
And as I say, sometimes you just have to have these planets.
Right.
There.
And also, so you say Uranus can be a malefic. If your business is an astrology business, maybe it's a good thing to have it there. If your business has to do with something to do with death or transformation, if you're an undertaker or like whatever, a mortician, then maybe Pluto there is not.
Well, this is it, because then that is the planet that's ruling the election.
Yeah.
So each planet, certain areas.
Right. And you have to actually think
you got to know that.
What exactly is it that I'm going for? And is that a malefic or not?
So when you're actually thinking about, I need an election for whatever it is, I'm going to launch a new business, you need to know what sort of business is it? Right. And if it's a restaurant, the moon's going to rule it, Right.
If you're starting a kickboxing gym, in which case you want Mars. Yeah, exactly.
And if you're doing a nail bar, you want Venus there.
Yeah.
So you do need to understand which planets rule each of the planets' rulerships as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's my tips on second house elections. Right.
Love it.
Then we get to third house election tips. So the third house is to do with, in general, communication, study, and your local environment. Mm-hmm. So you would do a third house election chart when you are, say, starting a school or a new short course.
Yeah.
Writing, publishing short form content.
Yeah.
Important conversations and negotiations. Short trips, errands, and travel within your region, and signing agreements related to communications or your siblings.
Yeah.
So that's what the type of elections you would go for there. And really what you want to do with third house elections is strengthen the third house ruler for clarity and ease. Mercury dignified and direct applying to the benefics is ideal because Mercury is the natural ruler of the third house. And always keep the moon free from malefic aspects. Yeah. And you want the third house ruler in a beneficial condition. It's got to be well placed. And a Gemini or Virgo influence are good because those are the Mercury signs.
Yeah, totally.
And again, you want to avoid Mercury retrograde. You don't want to be doing anything there. Unless the actual election is about revising or completing old matters that you're rehashing some old junk.
Yeah.
But would you really do an election for that in the first place?
Maybe your business model is about memory or nostalgia. in which case,
a
maybe,
memoir or
right.
something.
Yeah, then maybe Mercury retrograde. It's arguable. You can spin it now.
You don't want to.
Maybe not.
Maybe not, yeah. If you're starting a new course at school, sometimes you've really got no choice. But ideally, if you can take the writing course when Mercury's direct, it will be better.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. So then let's have a look at some fourth house election tips. So the fourth house in general is about your home, your property, your real estate, and the foundations of your life.
Yeah.
So the fourth house election is mainly moving into a new house, buying and selling real estate. This is huge because this is a massive purchase.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest purchase anybody I know would make.
Yeah, definitely.
Renovation projects that you're starting, because you know how they say, oh, that new roof will only take 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And 9 months later, you're still waiting.
And this is one of the things that people typically actually have a choice of when they can do it. Not like with a wedding, sometimes you're sort of locked into when the family is available and whatnot.
Exactly.
And starting a new job, well, we can only be so lucky as to actually choose that. But you can really choose when you sign the
and when you're putting in an offer on a house, you've got to get it at the right time.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's also to do with any family matters, ancestry, or private life decisions. So again, I'm not sure if you'd really do an election for these things, but anyway, and establishing your foundations literally and figuratively. So if you're casting foundations for a new garage, you want that's a fourth house election.
Cool.
And if you're trying to build foundations in your life by establishing yourself, again, that is a fourth house election. So that's kind of interesting there. So some guidelines here are that you want the fourth house ruler dignified and well supported. For buying and selling property, fortify both the fourth and the 10th house because you want a good outcome there. Avoid malefics in the fourth unless the task requires them for demolition. Ooh. Like Uranus, you're going to knock down a building, you can have the Uranus in the fourth house because it will enjoy knocking down that building.
I love that. That's awesome.
Again, you want the moon applying to the fourth house ruler or Venus. That's always a good thing.
Sure.
And earth signs give long-lasting results on that fourth house cast.
And Pluto might be okay too because you're clearing away the old to bring in the new.
Yes. Yeah. Nice. So what you do want to have is the fourth house ruler should be dignified and angular. The moon should be applying to the fourth house ruler or a benefic. And I'm repeating myself, sorry, and earth signs there for sure. Avoid Mars or Saturn in the fourth house for home harmony and property growth.
All right.
So if you're buying a house and Mars and Saturn are in the fourth house, it's not a good time to make a purchase.
Interesting.
Yeah, so fourth house elections are really the big one because it generally is when I do elections in this, it's generally we're thinking of buying a house. We want to put in an offer. Should we do it on Friday or Monday? And that's really, you don't get much choice.
Yeah.
But you can, and then you can create it. And I'll talk a bit more about actually casting the chart a little bit later. But the idea is that you want the election to benefit you, the buyer, and not the seller. Okay, so then we get to fifth house elections. Yeah. So this is to do with creativity, pleasure, and children. So a fifth house election would be to do with any creative project or artistic launches. So if you're opening a gallery, or you're having a show, that's a great time to do a fifth house election. Romantic beginnings and dates. So, of course, your first date, I mean, you may not be able to pick and choose, but that would be indicative of the date.
A lot of people get to choose the time of birth of their child these days because it's not ever left up to chance these days. People just kind of schedule a time. Is this something that
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Giving birth.
Make sure that it's a good fifth house.
Well,
and then you have to look at the child's chart potentially.
Well, that is going to be their birth chart, right?
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, so much easier back in the day when we just,
huffed and puffed.
Just got born when we did.
Yeah. Also, anything recreational. So if you're in like a hockey team or something, that is always going to be good for a fifth house election. Conception and childbirth related rituals. So if you are you're struggling with conception, using a fifth house election is always a good thing to do because then you can say that it would be great if I had the hormones now, or I did this here, or whatever I don't know what they do these days in hospitals, but yeah.
Sure.
And social events, parties, celebrations, fifth house election, that's always a good thing.
Cool.
Yeah. So with a fifth house election, you want to choose the fifth ruler to be strong, and especially that for conception and creative launches, because if you're going to do an art gallery launch, you're going to make sure you got a good day. You want Venus and Jupiter are excellent or in or aspecting the 5th. Yes. A waxing moon always helps growth and joy.
Yeah.
The 5th ruler, dignified if possible. Venus or Jupiter in the 5th or aspecting its ruler, and Leo rising or Leo emphasis for these 5th house matters.
Yeah.
And again, you want to avoid malefics in the 5th. So that is Mars and Saturn. You don't want them in the 5th. They're just going to be a downer.
Yeah. Totally.
You know.
Yeah.
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 So that's a 5th house election. Yeah. And then moving on. So we've now got 2 6th house election tips. So the 6th house is generally to do with work, health, day-to-day stuff, and service to others.
Yeah.
So in general, the 6th house election is used when you are starting a new job or a work routine, taking on employees or service relationships. So if you're an employee and you're taking on a new cleaner or a new pool guy or a secretary or whoever you're taking on, an assistant, you want to do it with a good election here. So you get a good employee.
So here's a question.
Yeah.
If you are, for example, starting a new job, would you run an election chart just for that moment of the day that you start, or would you do the transits for your own chart for the moment that you're starting?
Well, you would do the election for the start. So say you're starting on Monday at 9 a.m. in Vancouver.
Right.
That is your chart for that job.
Okay.
Not the time you walked in the door and got the coffee, not the time you got on the bus, the time they said, we need you at 9.
You were assigned to start.
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
So you start at 9 and that's your job. And that chart will show you how that job's going to go.
All right. Good to know.
Yes. So there's a lot there. Yeah. You'd also use 6th house election for medical treatments focusing on maintenance rather than cure. Okay. So stretching routine, taking on a physiology person or I don't know what they do nowadays.
I don't either.
Something or other, chiropractor, something.
Oh, yeah.
All pet-related matters. If you're going to get a new dog, you're going to get a puppy, you want a good 6th house election for that. So you want to go to wherever the puppies are coming from at the time of the day when the 6th house is solid.
Yeah, okay.
To get a good puppy. Yes. And tasks of obligation, discipline, or routine. Again, would you really cast a chart for this? I don't know.
Probably not.
But for a pet, yes. And a new job, yes. Because they are.
The job, of course, yeah.
Yeah. So with 6th house elections, you want to make sure, the thing is with the 6th house, it's generally a difficult house. So you want to stabilize it rather than empower it. So what we're looking for medical procedures or health related, you want a waxing moon. It's the same old story. You want a waxing moon and you want to avoid the moon in the sign ruling the afflicted body part. So if they're saying, it's your liver, you don't want the moon in the sign that rules liver, which is Sagittarius.
Right. Sure.
Right.
Would you want this? So here's the thing. Would you want Saturn in the 6th house, though? Because that would maybe indicate long term.
Well, say it's your health issue and they're saying
if it was a job, though.
Oh, a job. Well, that would give stability in the long term.
Sure, yeah.
And it might bring, dare I say it, a boring job. But
a boring long-term
it would be
stable job.
Stabilized. It would be a job for life.
Interesting.
Absolutely. And it depends on the nature of the job. If you're working for an advertising agency or you're working for a bank or you're working for the government, you would want different planets there.
As opposed to something entrepreneurial or creative.
Yes. So you also want to strengthen the 1st house. That's your constitution if you're doing these health things as well. So this is a double whammy thing here.
Totally.
So for new jobs, you want to strengthen the 10th and the 1st if you can, because that is you going out in the public life. And the 1st ruler, your constitution, more than the 6th for health matters. So your 6th ruler, the ruler of the sign on the cusp of the 6th house should be stable, but not overly empowered. It's a tricky house. And Mercury dignified for work routines. Yeah. So again, avoid the malefics, Mars and Saturn. You don't want them there. And you don't want them opposing the ascendant either. That is not a good place. Keep the malefics away from the ascendant. You want the moon in the 6th for healing and health matters. But again, you don't want Mercury retrograde for anything, really.
Yeah.
When would one choose? Oh, let me have Mercury retrograde. Yeah, if you're revising a manuscript, that's about the only time I can think about it.
Right.
Yeah. So tricky one, that, but it really is a lot to do with, and if you're, say, for instance, going for an interview for a job and they say, well, you could come on Friday, you could come on Monday, that would be 6 hours because you're going for the job.
Right. Yeah, totally.
And then we get on to the seventh house election. This is the most thing. This is about getting married. This is the most elections that you ever do as an astrologer.
Right.
So the seventh house in general is about partnerships, contracts, and public relations. So you would cast a seventh house election when you are having a wedding, the marriage ceremony itself, the day of the wedding. Yes. It's the time when they say, I do.
Oh.
Because prior to that, they're not married.
What?
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
So if they say, this is the thing, they say, oh, the wedding's at 3, but the guy's yapping and yapping and yapping, and they only say, I do at 3:30.
But how do you know how long he'll yap?
Well,
I mean, you don't know.
You got to tell him. Yeah.
You can yap for 13 minutes exactly.
Exactly.
And then you have to wrap it up.
We got to wrap it up by 2.
Get the ideas by 3:14 p.m.
Exactly.
Wow.
So seventh house as well is business partnerships. I'm going to go into business with, Joe Bloggs down the road. That is a contract. That is seventh house. You need to make sure you've got your election for that because it's a big, important thing.
Yeah.
Possibly legal contracts, agreements, and negotiations. So if you are signing a prenuptial contract, check out the seventh house because you want it to benefit you.
Yeah, definitely.
Because even though they'll send you the contract and you say, oh, it arrived at 4 p.m. and you think, well, I'll sign it tomorrow, you want to get it at the right time when the seventh house is supported.
For
sure.
Yes.
And then, of course, open enemy engagements. This is litigation, divorce, and competition.
Yeah.
Not much you can do about that, but anyway.
Yeah.
And then client-facing activities when you're dealing with people. So again, would you cast an election chart for that? Probably not. Seventh house elections are about weddings.
Yeah.
And people come to me and they say, I'm getting married in May or June on a Saturday, which is the best Saturday. Right. So you work your way through and you find the best Saturday for that. So with the seventh house elections, you want to make sure that the seventh ruler is strong and or dignified. Venus dignified is excellent for marriage and Mercury or Jupiter for contracts. The moon applying to the seventh house ruler or Venus in a traditional wedding.
Yeah.
The seventh house ruler dignified, direct, and applying to a benefic. Venus strong for relationships. Ideally, you want Venus in the seventh house when you're getting married. So let's just say it.
Yeah.
Mercury and Jupiter strong, possibly, and Libra rising or a benefic in the seventh. So ideally, if you're going to get married, and of course you can pick and choose your date, this is the great thing. The day when Venus and Jupiter are conjoined, that is the best day because you can put them in the seventh house, and that is a perfect place.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, you want to avoid Saturn in the seventh house. Imagine Mars in the seventh, because then it'll just be haggling and arguing and fighting and blood.
Yeah.
And it's sure no affliction of the descendant degree itself. So
yeah,
there's a lot going on, and you can't have everything. But if you're going to be doing a wedding election, which is the type of elections I do more of than any other election, you want Venus and or Jupiter in the seventh for the marriage.
Yeah. So
they come and they say, oh, well, I want to get married at 10 a.m. It's never good because Venus won't be at 10 a.m. Venus is going to be in the 11th or 12th. You don't want that. You want Venus in the 7th. So this is why afternoon weddings just before the sun sets are always a good time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a good little cheat code.
It really is. Yeah. Okay, then. So next, let's have a look at 8th house election tips. So the 8th house is generally shared resources and transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So for an 8th house election chart, you would do this when you're taking out a loan, mortgage, or debt restructuring.
Interesting, yeah.
Yes. Dealing with a tax man, for sure. Right. Inheritance issues and the arguments that go with that.
Oh, interesting. So if you're going to court over some
to argue with because your brother's taken all the money or whatever. Yeah. Deep psychological and transformative work. So if you are going into psychotherapy, you want to have an 8th house election for that.
Interesting. Yeah.
And rituals involving endings or release. So celebrations of life.
Yeah.
Birth celebrations. There's not much you can do about it if they're saying it's going to be on Thursday at 3, but that would be an eighth house election. Yeah.
Sure.
So for these elections, you want to choose the eighth house ruler should be well conditioned for financial agreements. For debt repayment, a waning moon is helpful because you're trying to reduce the debt. So you're trying to reduce the debt, so you want a waning moon. To receive funds such as loans or grants, you want a waxing moon because then you will get the loan. And you want the eighth ruler dignified, especially for loans or grants. So you want that in a good position, and benefic involvement from Jupiter and Venus in some way. Jupiter in the eighth, Venus in the eighth. And they'll say, certainly you can have extra credit, Mrs. Jones. Have another $1,000, you know. Yeah. And again, you want to avoid moon in the eighth because that is loss and instability. Tricky.
Yeah.
But again, I would use these when you're applying for a mortgage, and it's when you're signing the deal at the bank, that's when this is going to come into play.
For sure.
When they give you the money.
Yeah. Not
just chipper-chapper talking about it. Yeah. And then we get on to ninth house election. So the ninth house is generally about travel, philosophy, and higher learning. It's an easygoing chart, easygoing house. So this has to do with long distance travel or international matters. Now, when I travel, even short distances, when I travel, I cast the chart for the travel experience, even when I go up the road to Whistler, because I want the ascendant to mesh with me.
Yeah.
So I want a fire or air ascendant on my travel journeys because it will tell you how it's going to go.
Yeah.
So even if you've got to go down to the airport because you're flying to Europe, the time you leave your house and begin the journey, you want a good ascendant.
Right. Well, just like when you Google map a trip, it's telling you like from when you need to actually walk out of your home, even if you're taking a.
Yeah. But if I've got to wait 5 minutes because we've got Virgo rising and I'm waiting for Libra rising, I will wait because that will show me, say I've got Libra rising, that when I get on the plane, she'll bring me a nice drink and the food will be nice and I'll have enough leg room. Virgo rising, what are we going to have on a plane? We're going to have, you can only have one packet of peanuts, Mrs. Price,
Yeah.
Or,
your credit card won't work. Or
your credit card, exactly. Or the plane's delayed. But it's the time you leave your house for the journey.
Did I ever tell you my grandmother, she had Aries rising. She was a Sagittarius with Aries rising. And she she apparently knew this from her parents telling her. She did not breathe for an ungodly amount of time, like 20 minutes or something like that when she was first born. Like they were smacking her. She was turning blue. They were dunking her in ice water. This is in the 20s that she was born. It's like kind of primitive medical whatever, but she insists that the reason is because she didn't want Pisces rising.
And she's got Aries rising. Yeah. She was hanging on for dear life.
Hanging on just so that she could have that Aries rising. And boy, did she live Aries rising. Yeah, but that was one of those little family lore that you learn at the knee of the grandmother.
We love these stories.
Super into astrology, yeah. Yeah.
We love them, yeah.
We do.
So with your ninth house elections, you want to fortify the ninth house ruler, which is especially safe for long distance travel, which is when you're getting on a plane these days, right? Get the ruler of the ninth dignified and angular. Jupiter dignified is excellent for religious, academic, and publishing elections, of course. For exams, you want Mercury strong and the moon applying to the ninth house ruler. You really want Jupiter dignified, probably, as it is the traditional ninth house ruler, either Jupiter in the ninth or in Pisces or in Sagittarius.
Yeah.
And a Sagittarius or Pisces emphasis. Why not? Yeah. Right? And again, you would avoid the malefics, Mars and Saturn in the ninth. You don't want that. You don't want that. Do you? No. And for travel, because why? Or even Uranus, because that's accidents. You don't want that in the ninth house if you're traveling. Super interesting. And then we get on to 10th house elections. Now, this is one that you get frequently after marriage elections. This is the next best one. And it's really about people starting their own business. When should I start my business? So the 10th house generally is about career, reputation, and achievement. But in the real world, it's about when should I start my business?
Yeah, because you can actually choose that.
You can. And that's the good thing about it. So
back in the day, when I started my very first website, I actually cast a chart for the moment that I hit publish. Yeah, exactly. And I had that for the longest time, like the chart of my absolute first website.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good thing.
So here, the 10th house elections are career launches, promotions, or public announcements. business opening. So this is when you're publicly launching your business. So you might have been tinkering for 6 months, and then you have your public launch.
Yeah.
That's the chart for your business.
For sure.
And then it goes on, and that is the chart, the birth chart then of the business. And funnily enough, we have it for this round at this Starzology Astrology podcast. There's a link below to our start chart, which was fortified 10th house.
Yeah.
There's like 7 planets in the 10th house because we wanted it to work.
Yeah.
And your meetings with authority figures, so when you go and meet the president of the country or something like that, major life milestones requiring visibility when you're doing things in the public eye, and applications to public institutions. That would be a 10th house thing.
Yeah.
So for these, you want to make sure that the 10th house ruler is angular and dignified. Ensure benefic involvement for promotions, launches, and visibilities, right?
Yeah.
You're going to promote your store and launch it. You want the moon and the 10th ruler in mutual reception. That is a great placement to have.
Okay.
And then the 10th ruler dignified, angular, and applying to the benefics. It sounds like a broken record, but that's what you need. And then you want benefics in the 10th for visibility and success. So that's Jupiter and Venus. And then you could have a Capricorn midheaven for long-term endurance, right? Mm. And again, avoid Mars in the 10th unless you are entering a competition and you're competing. So yeah, our Starzology Astrology podcast, I'm just going to do a sidebar here.
Amazing.
And actually, there's a link on the blog post to it. And our Starzology launch, in our 10th house, we have the Sun, Chiron, Jupiter, Mercury, the North Node, Uranus, Astrology, and Venus. We crammed it in when we launched, and it was sheer fortune that we came at this right time to launch this, because it was just
amazing. I
had the idea one day and I thought, I'm going to launch the next set, and there it was.
I love it.
That's and so cool. That was the actual time, and it was serendipitous that I could cram in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the North Node in the 10th house, amazing. Including Uranus. So
and I always post up on time, so you're like, hey, you got to be here at this
time,
because this is the time it's happening.
Well, this was the launch of the podcast when the first episode went up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Even better.
When we went public
live,
and suddenly you could listen on Apple and Spotify, and
wherever you get your podcasts, as they say.
Well, yeah, which is either Apple or Spotify, because there's nothing else. There's no other show in town. Yeah. So that was our 10th house election that we did for our podcast, which is the one you're listening to now.
Yeah.
And as astrologers, we did it because that's what you do.
Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So then 11th house elections. So these are for friends, groups, and goals. Again, why you don't do these often? So you do an 11th house election if you're going to join an organization, club, or network. So if you're going to join the golf club, do it on a good election. Go down and sign the paperwork and pay your money at a good time.
Especially if you're going to start the golf club, I would think.
That too.
I mean, if you're the one who's initiating it, absolutely.
Control it, yeah. And if you're starting an astrology group and you're having your initial meeting, you want to have it in a good election. Why would you not?
Totally.
Yeah. So all group events and collective activities, fundraising and community projects, Kickstarters as well, initiating long-term aspirations or social goals. Yeah. Again, we don't do many of these. And crowdfunding and public support campaigns. This is all 11th house stuff.
Yeah.
And then, so what you want to choose, you've got to strengthen the 11th ruler for social support and beneficial outcomes.
Yeah.
You want the moon applying to Jupiter or Venus. Of course, we always want that. The 11th house ruler should be dignified and unafflicted. Jupiter in the 11th, you want good things there in your group.
Yeah.
An Aquarius or Sagittarius emphasis for the group aims as well. So go for that. And again, we're going to avoid, let me guess, Mars and Saturn in the 11th house. You don't want that because they're just going to be bickering, arguing, fighting within the group. You don't want that.
Yeah.
So you just don't want that. And even if you've got a group that's been going a while, go back to your start chart and see how it is. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And then finally, we come down to 11th house elections, which really don't come up very often. So this is to do with solitude, healing, and hidden work.
12th house. Yeah.
So here we're talking about going on a retreat, a sabbatical, or a spiritual withdrawal. So maybe you decide you're going down to Sedona, you're going to live in a yurt for a week, or you're going to India to an ashram. This is 12th house
voluntarily
stuff.
Entering something for rehab?
Rehabilitation.
For sure.
Yeah. beginning therapy and healing work oriented towards deep recovery.
Yeah. And that's super important. I mean, if you're starting rehab or therapy, you want to make sure you've chosen the right person.
Yes.
Do a
and you
little
want a
chart
good
for the
election.
first appointment. And if you see like a bunch of
the day you check into the clinic.
Yeah. Or the first appointment with a new person who you're not quite sure about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A therapist. Yes.
Go with your gut, but also, yeah.
So this is also about ending cycles quietly and privately, saying, I'm done with this. I'm not drinking alcohol. I'm going to join the group, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Working behind the scenes, which is really private work, and rituals of purification, dissolution, or closure.
Love it.
So in this house, if you decide that you are going to get baptized as an adult person and get reborn, you want this is when you do this one.
Interesting. I love that.
You go down to the river and somebody's at it, right?
Yeah.
So what are we choosing? So because this house is a malefic in general, you want to empower it only when the election requires it. So keep malefics in the 12th house if you need to contain them, avoiding enemies. For spiritual retreats or therapy, strengthen the 9th and 1st more than the 12th. So there's a subtlety here. This is like the 6th house. It's a tricky one. And for spiritual dignities, Jupiter dignified in Sagittarius or Pisces is always a good thing. And avoid the moon in the 12th unless seclusion is intended. So if you are going to join a nunnery or a cloistered monk, or you're going to go into one of these places, this is the thing. But again, in reality, you don't often do. No one comes to me and says, I need a 12th house election. But if my friends or my kids were going to go into rehab, I would make sure we got to the place on a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes. Okay, so I've gone through each of the 12 houses and which house you would use when you're going to do an election. But the point is that you need to know which house to support. And by support, what I mean is putting good planets in the house pertaining to the election.
Yeah. Totally.
So if you're opening a business, you want a 10th house strong. You want the sun there, Jupiter there, the planet that rules the endeavor. If it's astrology, you want Uranus there. If you're opening a gym, you want Mars there. If you're opening a bakery, you want the moon there. What else? If you're opening a bar, you want Neptune there.
If you want to open a salon or a gallery, you want Venus there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you need to, and you put the planets in the houses to reinforce, and a reinforced house has planets in it.
Yeah.
And at all times we want to minimize Mars and Saturn.
Yeah.
In general, you just do, because there's arguments and it's so difficult.
Yeah.
And there's all red tape with Saturn, and you haven't got your permits, and the fire chief comes around and says, no, we have to close you down because blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So the idea is, as I say, in general, the elections I generally do is for weddings for sure, and business launches particularly, and mainly cosmetic surgeries. Those are the ones that people tend to come and say to me. They come as a client and they click through and they make their booking, and they want an electional charts for these main three things. Because really, if you're going to get a dog, you just go and get the dog. I mean, this is the real world.
And if you're going to get a cat, it just finds you. There's no electing anything. Literally, they just post up and that's your cat now.
They're just sitting on the doormat when you go out the front door.
Oh, that's my cat now. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so because we launched this podcast, and we have a strong 10th house there, and it's super important.
I love it. I love that.
And if you're actually starting a new job, which we could chat about, because we do have a chart available at the moment for somebody who's actually starting a new job. And
tomorrow morning.
And Arwynne's starting a new job tomorrow morning, and she's going into the business world. And there's not much choice of it, because she has to be there at a certain time on a certain day.
I do.
But we're just going to have a look at that particular chart, just in general.
Just for fun. Like it gives you an example of a real world thing where you don't necessarily get to choose, but like, let's see what it is.
Because this chart of you starting at your new job is going to express how it is to work there, how long you work there, and transits to this chart and the progressions to this chart will show your promotion within the company or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about the chart that we're looking at here?
Sure. So I'm starting at 9 a.m. tomorrow, which is November 24th. I'm not going to tell you the company, of course, blah, blah, blah. But what I'm seeing right off the bat is that Mars is right on the ascendant. It's within 3 degrees of the ascendant. The ascendant is in Sagittarius, and it is a tech company. It is actually like a very cutting edge scientific tech company.
Right.
And I'm going to be in the marketing communications department. So
Writing.
writing, my entire job will be writing for this incredibly like cutting edge scientific tech company. I'll be working with a lot of engineers and a lot of physicists. And it's pretty cool. It's actually very interesting. But I'm very interested by the fact that Mars is right there on the ascendant.
But it's in the 12th.
It's in the 12th.
So it is contained.
And so is the sun. And what is funny, off camera, off microphone, whatever you asked me, you said, oh, you'll probably be asked to sign an NDA. And I said, I already did.
Yes.
I had to sign an NDA before I even signed the contract.
So interesting because it's keeping it private.
So
you can't talk about it, obviously.
It's not top secret, but it is, there's a lot of government contracts. There's a lot of, So
you've got Sagittarius rising. That means that Jupiter is ruling the chart.
Yeah.
So we would assume that this job is going to does it have an international connotation? I don't know.
Absolutely. Like a lot of the contracts are with U.S. like military, etc. And it's not weapons. It's not weapons. I just want to make that clear to everybody. It's it's not weapons, but it is science, and that's pretty cool. So the sun and Mars are in the 12th house.
Right.
What I really love, though, is that Venus and Mercury are conjunct in the 11th house.
Now that's interesting because Mercury rules the type of job it is.
And I really feel like that means I'm going to make friends on this job,
with women probably too.
My entire company,
a social life.
First of all, like the chief science advisor is she's the second in command in the entire company, is a woman. The entire marketing department is women.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be said of
this is
most companies.
What we could say. So you go to make friends and be part of the group, be part of the team.
And like the recruiter was a woman. The 2 women I'm working. I mean, I'm literally covering a maternity leave, which is like a 14-month contract. But with any luck, it'll continue past that. But yeah, like I will be working almost exclusively with women in a very seemingly kind of male-dominated genre, like. Field, but there's a ton of women who are very high up in this company, according to the website. And
there you go.
Who I've met. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So I mean, this is great. You've got the moon in the first house.
Moon in the first house, which I hope means that I will actually love it and that I'll feel right.
And it's a waxing moon, so we're happy about that because we did say frequently we want a waxing moon because that indicates growth.
Yeah, and it's opposite Jupiter in the 7th, which I think is a really positive thing as well.
Yes.
I feel like that just means it feels like home, right?
It kind of does. And we've got these grand trines, multiple grand trines.
Oh, there's
sitting
so many
there.
Grand trines. It's crazy.
Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, and the Saturn Neptune thing. So it's all going down in water.
Yeah. And Saturn Neptune conjunct in the 3rd house. I will be creating communications about this incredibly scientific company. So that's Saturn conjunct Neptune right there. I'll be creating, narratives about
corporate.
It's corporate. But it's pretty cool. And also the North Node is in the 3rd house, which is where my natal North Node is,
right? Which
I find really interesting.
Right.
And Pluto is in the 2nd house, which means it should be profitable.
Yes,
which is always good.
It's going to be, this is it. What's the money going to be like? Probably quite deep. It might take a while, but it'll probably be there.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. Yeah. I mean, Sagittarius rising is a good thing anyway. I mean, absolutely. It's optimistic.
Yeah.
We are, what did they say? We are cautiously optimistic.
We are cautiously optimistic. And we'll be learning a lot. Like Sagittarius is all about not only optimism, but about learning and long range planning and like that Archer thing where you're like just aiming for the,
over the horizon. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's client work as well, because clearly that's indicated there too, right?
Yeah. And I've already been like studying about the topic of the company.
You're going to have to.
Doing a bunch of research about the science, and it's super interesting. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the commute. That's your 3rd house. So this is quite a commute.
It's an hour and 15-minute commute. Yeah. But it's only 2 days a week. So yeah.
And what's happening on the other 3 days?
Oh, work from home.
Work from home.
Yes. Good God. Yes.
It's glorious.
It is. Yeah. But 2 days a week I'd be going into the office, and it's out in the middle of
nowhere.
It's a SkyTrain and a bus ride, which is fine, whatever. But yeah, it's this industrial office park out in the middle of the suburbs with a giant warehouse type of situation. And
fantastic.
Yeah, there's not a lot out there. There's just a bunch of other warehouses. There's a pub though. There's a pub like right across the street, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
So I guess that's our lunch spot.
So the work from home bit would be the Chiron there. So you were going to make sure you got your technology sorted out. That might take some doing.
Yeah.
But in general, it's low key, definitely, because the sun's on the 12th. It's got to be low key.
When I went for the interview, everyone else was wearing jeans, which was an interesting thing. I've never, ever gone for an interview where everyone was just in jeans and sweatshirts. And I'm like, okay, I see.
It's 2025.
I guess I won't have to buy a whole wardrobe for work, which
you can wear jeans and just rotate your tops through.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this is very exciting. And of course, it's super interesting that we could even cast this chart opportunely, because when we scheduled to do the electional podcast, we did not know you were going to be.
No, we did not know that I would have landed a job, because I've been out, I've been searching for a job for like 3 months now. So
between engagements.
Yes, exactly.
Super interesting. So this is a real world thing, and we can circle back, 6 months' time, and you can say, I really understand what that Mars means, and I really get what that Jupiter is. And
totally.
Blah, blah, blah. And
I look forward to that. Yeah.
Yes. And it's quite a journey, but it's probably going to give you a lot of growth, because Jupiter's ruling the chart.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
If you lean in, you're probably going to go on a hot air balloon trip. You know what I mean?
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
I think it's great. I really do. And thanks so much for sharing that with everybody.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for enabling me to just chat away about my new opportunity.
Yeah,
it's great.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've been talking about electional astrology. This is really an introduction to electional astrology. There's really two prongs to this whole episode. One is that if you are an aspiring astrologer and you want to learn how to do electional astrology, you can pick up a coaching session with me. There's a link below this podcast. Additionally, if you actually just want to have an election because you are getting married or you are having cosmetic surgery, you can certainly then request a consultation with myself to get an electional consultation. So they're two separate things. One is coaching, one is the actual consultation. And additionally, if you are on our mailing list, on Starzology's mailing list, you actually get a discounted rate rather than just someone in the general public. So there is a benefit to being on the mailing list. And I don't mention it often enough, but frequently on the services, the astrology services that I offer, if you come through from the mailing list, you're getting a way better deal than if you're just coming through as a general public. Yeah. So I'm just mentioning that now. And because we're coming towards a new year, we're at the beginning of a new year, and there's people are going to get married and people are going to do you got these plans, you got your projects, you might want to consider having an electional consultation. And that's what I'm mentioning here.
Love it.
Yeah. So if you found value in this episode, please do consider sharing it with anybody who'd be interested. Make sure you're on our mailing list, and that's you sign up at starzology.com/newsletter, and there's links there to get better pricing. Make sure you're on Arwynne's newsletter, and you can find Arwynne I'm
at mspink.net, mspink.net, and I send out my weekly newsletter every Saturday. I'm talking about goddesses, art, popular culture, and personal stories.
And it's a great read. It absolutely is. Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you for everyone who's been joining with us today, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the two main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer or someone who's learning astrology or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. and I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.